training partners. Here come your training partners. So smart, so strong, so funny. Let's go with your training partners.
Welcome to Training Partners, where two fitness professionals bring you strong takes held loosely. I'm Wheezy Shoemaker, and I'm joined by Justin McClintock, and today we will be just talking to you.
We're just talking.
Which I guess is no different from usual.
What is a podcast if not saying stuff?
That's really good. That's really good.
I don't think I came up with that.
No, that sounds like maybe like a Hunter McIntyre thing.
Entirely possible. Who knows?
Yeah. So this is a shoot the shit episode. We have no agenda. I have a list of topics that I'm very angry about right now.
Oh.
So
should we just have a rage episode?
Well, yeah, I'll just be shouting into the void. No segment. Just a little bit of fresh Justin and Weeds talking about stuff. What stuff do you want to talk about?
Well, I mean, I'm interested to see what your list is. There's there's an awful lot to be angry about. We could get a little more specific.
I would love to get a little more specific. Yeah. So I almost got in an argument this week, and I shared this with you privately already. It was the first time in a while that I've had to just kind of like walk away from a situation and decide this is not going to go anywhere meaningful. And it's about school shootings.
Yep. Feel good topic.
Feel good topic. Totally within our scope of expertise to discuss.
Well, you've got kids, and I went to school, so.
Yeah, right. And I have people in my family who have guns. So
Ditto.
perfectly qualified. So my oldest is starting kindergarten on Wednesday, which we're very excited about from a budgetary perspective because I'm about to get $1,200 a month back.
Yeah, my goodness.
But recently there was some legislation passed where kids are not allowed to have their phones anymore. And
in school.
Correct. They can have them there and they cannot have them out for any reason. Like I am not familiar enough with the specifics of the language, but my understanding is that depending on where you are, it's either like hey, it can be in your bag, but it cannot be seen out. And if it's seen out, it gets taken from you, or it needs to be in your locker.
Okay.
And so I was kind of a fly on the wall, like doing work in a situation where a few people were speaking about this, and one of them might listen to this, and the one that might listen to this, we have already chatted about this, but the tone was, I'm so glad that this is a rule. Why wasn't it always? Right.
Sure. I understand.
Right. I don't want you to have your phone. I don't want you to be distracted. That's ridiculous that this was even ever a question. And so if we look at this on that surface, I don't want you to be distracted. You should be getting into education while you're in school. You don't need to rot your brain on your phone. And I look at this as I have experienced my children being in a lockdown situation, and it was horrendous to not have a line of communication with them.
And just to be clear, we're slightly splitting the difference here between I don't think you should have your phone out and be distracted at school versus the position of, well, phones shouldn't be allowed in school.
Right.
Yeah.
That was the tone of the person who was arguing for anti-phones.
Taking the position that you shouldn't be able to bring a phone into school, period.
You shouldn't even have one.
Yeah.
And so, this conversation is kind of like happening over me. And I interjected, which maybe I shouldn't have, I disagree with this because if there's a school shooting, I would like to be able to reach my child. That's not to say my oldest does not have a phone at this point. He's just about to turn 6. I don't think that's age appropriate. And when we get to whether it's 8, whether it's 10, I'm going to get him some type of device so that he can contact us. Basically, as soon as there's a sport that he might go to that maybe Ted or I don't take him to that, I want to be able to reach my child, right? And the conversation then abruptly pivoted to this person who was arguing for no phones, hearing my statement of like, if there's a school shooting or a lockdown, I want to be able to reach my child with, why don't we have off-duty cops or school resource officers at all schools? So that's just not even a consideration. Like, it's just ridiculous that that's not.
Which is not the discussion or argument you were having at all, to be clear.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think we should have phones because kids get too distracted. Who needs a phone? You said, I actually think it's a safety issue. I want my kid to have a phone. I don't think anyone's argued against kids having their phones away while class is in session at this point.
Right.
They came back with, well, we should have cops in schools. And then I guess if there's a cop, you don't need a phone?
If there's a cop, certainly. My child will absolutely be safe and I will not need to reach them at all. I can just rest assured. Thank you so much, Mr. Cop.
How could there be a problem?
I want to be clear too, this conversation was not as charged as it is in my brain now, because I've had the opportunity to kind of chew on it and like, oh, that gets me really fired up to think about. It was not, we are feuding, this is ridiculous, but I could see myself getting to that place. And so I needed to, I just gotta, this is a person who is unlikely to understand my perspective here. And I'm not going to waste my breath.
That's such a mature approach, and it's not easy to take.
Thank you.
And it's learned. I mean, as someone who used to just like yell at people because they were wrong, and there's always been a lot to be outraged about, and there will always be a lot to be outraged about, and you kind of have to like decide what things you're going to turn down in your own mind. But especially, in like this very polarized world we live in, and everyone's in their own echo chamber and blah blah. Yeah. There's lots of people who you can have interesting discussions with. And I have successfully had calm discussions, debates, arguments with people, and successfully changed people's perspective. There are people who are willing and capable to have calm discussions and have their perspective shift, including me. I get my mind changed all the time. I used to think this, I heard this well-reasoned perspective. It shifted me a little bit. That's cool. And if you live in that place about a lot of things, life gets a lot more interesting and you can continue to grow and expand. But it's so common to run into someone, especially if they come with an argument that sounds a little bit outlandish, or they bring it out of nowhere, like that kind of thing. Like, well, honestly, I was thinking that, universal healthcare would just make everything better. Well, why do women have to work so much? Hold on, Dave. What? I know that I'm very unlikely to change Dave's mind, and talking to him is only going to suck my energy and make me angrier. So now I don't want to waste my breath, and I want to remove myself from the situation where maybe 20 years ago, I would have a good old time just yelling at Dave.
Right. That's kind of how I feel about the raw milk crew.
Oh my God. Useless. So
like, they discovered pasteurization. Incredible. There's been a suggestion that what if instead of vaccinating, we were to just administer a very, very small dose of an illness so that a natural protective measure would happen in the body. It's like, you're so close, friend.
Which is the cool thing about science, right? Like, if it goes away, people will reinvent it, but you don't have to reinvent it because it exists. And this, the raw milk people, there's so much of that stuff that
there's so much of it. I don't want to stray too far from school shootings because
who would?
Oh, terrible. That's terrible, Justin.
You're welcome.
Oh my God. I knew that. So my counter to this, like, why don't we have blah, 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 was because that's actually proven to not be effective.
You've tried that.
We have some pretty decent research to support that that's not effective. And then the counter from this person, which was when I decided I'm going to leave this conversation, goodbye, was, well, we've spent money on a lot dumber stuff from a government perspective. Like, we spend money on dumb stuff all the time as a government. Why can't they do that? And my brain hurt at that point. The idea of, we know the thing doesn't work. Why would we do this just so you can feel good about it?
Exactly. And that's the discussion they made. Yes, we spent money on all kinds of
spent money
things.
on dumb stuff.
If this
You're
would
right.
save the lives of a kid, wouldn't it be worth doing it? Yeah.
Right.
That was the argument that led to us trying it in a bunch of ways, in a
Right.
bunch of places, in a bunch of different ways. It demonstrably doesn't work.
Right.
So we should not do more of the thing that doesn't work. We should try and do a thing that does
A
work.
different thing that
Yeah.
may or may not work.
Not just things that make you feel good. See
Right.
the death penalty, see for-profit prisons, see, everyone's going to cancel us. This is going to be fun.
I love it. This is fun.
Yeah.
Welcome to your last episode of Training Partners. So after this conversation, something that I found really therapeutic to do was to actually look up specifically what the research said on this.
Mhm.
And so researchers examined 133 school shootings between 1980 and 2019. Some of them were actual, some of them were attempted. And they're all in the K-12. So there's nothing like collegiate or daycare related.
Okay.
In this. At least one armed officer was present in almost 25% of cases.
Yep.
The research found no significant reduction of harm in the schools that had a resource officer on site, with or without a gun. And in fact, the shootings at schools with armed officers ended with 3 times as many people killed on average. And so the suspicion behind that is that commonly school shooters are explicitly suicidal anyway, right? They don't intend to walk away from that.
Yeah.
And so an armed officer might actually be an incentive, not a deterrent.
Oh, I hadn't even thought of that. Because there could also be, it might not be correlative, right? Or correlative. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Because I suspect, I don't know for sure, that a lot of these armed officers have shown up in the last 15 years or so of school shootings happening, or probably last 20, 25 years of school shootings happening. And as it has grown, or certainly we've heard a lot more about it and it's been tracked more, and it's certainly not making things better.
Right.
Like, it may or may not make things worse, but it certainly isn't helping. It may help other things. I mean, I'm not a big fan of having cops in schools, but I'm down for the argument that, petty crime has been deterred, or it's harder for intruders or people who don't belong in that school to get in that school if this is going on. Like, okay, I'll listen to the argument, but it isn't moving the needle on school shootings, and school shootings happen basically every day at this point. Like, the numbers are remarkable. So, like, we don't hear about it. It's like car crashes now. It doesn't make the news anymore because it's so normal. It has to be really bad or really remarkable to make the news, because it's been completely normalized.
Right. There was a friend of mine who just sent her oldest child to college. Day 3 was on lockdown, and everything ended up being totally fine, but wasn't on the news.
Yep. Just another day. Another day with an active shooter drill.
So that's my first strong take today. School shootings and SROs, and whether or not they're effective, and whether or not it's okay for my child to have a phone in school. I will die on that hill.
And it seems like such an easy thing, in that I understand. I did not have a cell phone in high school because nobody had cell phones when I was in high school. It wasn't a thing. The drug dealers had beepers. That's to like nail me in a very particular era. Like some kids have beepers and they are all selling illegal goods, pretty much.
The iPhone came out while I was in college. So like, people had phones while I was in high school, but I didn't have internet on my phone, and I had a certain number of minutes, and I bought ringtones. So
remember buying ringtones? I get so infuriated now when I hear someone's phone ring, and I used to pay 99 cents so like a MIDI version of Rump Shaker could play through my phone. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I don't remember what the song is now, but every now and again I'll hear it on like a throwback station, like, oh yeah, that was Dougie's ringtone.
That's so funny. Yeah, but the idea, like, yeah, phones are a very common tool now.
Mhm.
In the same way, rules are like still being made and they're trying to find ways that it works in schools. Like, we didn't have rules about phones in high school because it wasn't an issue. Now it's an issue. So they're trying to figure out ways that it fits. It is also a useful tool that we use in everyday life.
Yeah.
Like, all of culture has adapted to this. Now we need to figure out the right way to make it work. The answer isn't, oh, well, I remember things being really good when no one had phones and we all used, trapper keepers and wrote on paper and whatever little like cutout segment of how fondly you remember your experience was, because people forget this. This is like I was thinking a lot about history today for some reason. Everyone remembers it being better.
Right.
Everyone, every generation, forever has a moment where they think, what is wrong with this current generation? Why are they doing these newfangled things? We don't need this. It's a bad idea. It's rotting their brains and making it worse. Like, go back and look on what people said about the Victrola when it was released. Outrage. This is
How,
going to be the ruination of society. It
how
is going
dare
to
you?
rot people from the inside. Why would anyone need something like this? And it just gets repeated ad nauseum. Oh, I know what I was thinking about. Speaking of the raw milk fuckers, I was thinking about the natural dye fuckers and
Gosh.
some people shouting about how somewhat it may or may not happen, but in the past month or so at time of recording, several companies have said they're going from high fructose corn syrup to cane sugar, especially in their sodas. And some of them are going to be using natural dyes instead of artificial dyes. And the whole high fructose corn syrup thing came about because the last Republican president to get impeached was trying to solve a problem for America's farmers and had his Secretary of Agriculture, which I will never forget because his name was Earl Butz. And Earl Butz is an amazing fucking name. And he was like, hey, what we need is we need to sell a shitload of corn. Solve it. The farmers are not doing well. We're having a huge problem. How do you sell all this corn? And Earl Butz came up with a way to use corn basically as feed for lots of animals, making meat cheaper. So you could sell meat, people would buy meat, drive it up, and turn into this incredibly effective, incredibly cost-effective, really cheap sweetener, high fructose corn syrup. It was a triumph for the farming industry and American ingenuity, and it was ordered and paid for by the U.S. government under Richard Nixon. And
Wow.
now we've come around again and are undoing that thing for another thing, which is fun. Like, I couldn't care less if you use high fructose corn syrup or cane sugar. Touting it as a victory is super weird, and a tiny bit of history would give so many people some perspective that it drives me crazy on a very regular basis.
We don't have that ability.
No.
Well, I am grateful that it was not Reagan.
No, he ruined most things. Most
Almost
bad stuff you
everything
can go
else.
back and point to and be like, this is Reagan's fault.
This is a Reagan thing.
But the people, whatever. So I saw a thing today where our vice president was saying a lot of terrible things about homeless people and in Washington, D.C. This is going to be super dated, or maybe he's still yelling. Who knows? Washington, D.C. may be taking
he's
over by the
definitely
time this
still
goes
yelling.
out. But a lot of things about no one deserves to be shouted out and screamed at by a mentally ill person on the street. Like, Ronald Reagan closed all the asylums. Ronald Reagan threw all the people out of mental institutions and closed them all down and took all the funding, and they just got released onto the streets.
Right.
And I'm not saying these are all the exact same people, but that problem was created and instituted and seen as acceptable because he was saving money, because we're going to come through and we're going to get more efficient and really drive some government. Does this sound familiar? Like, yeah, we've done it all before.
They have to go somewhere.
Yeah.
What if they don't have somewhere to go? They're going to find a place to go.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then you'll put on buses and take them somewhere else, or hide them, or do something even more nefarious with them. Yeah.
Take them to Detroit.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Ship them to Mexico. Easy.
Awful. 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 Thank you, Reagan. We just really, really wish that we could go back in time and evaporate you.
The last actor to be president also.
Could we call Trump an actor?
I mean, he has his SAG card. He was on TV. I mean, he was ostensibly portraying a character.
I don't think he ever acted, though. I think he's
Right.
just he's
Yeah.
the Donald.
Yeah, but yeah. Is it always acting for like a clinical narcissist? Is it always like?
Well, I think he's become that. I think that probably at some point there was a real human in there, and
Yeah.
now I think it's just entirely rage, hot takes, dementia, and farts. Like that's just the whole thing.
Yeah, snorting Adderall and allegedly all kinds of weirdness.
Allegedly, right? Have you heard about Serena Williams and GLPs?
I know Serena Williams announced she's taking GLPs.
Mhm.
I might have a hot take on this, but go ahead.
No, I would love to hear your hot take. Where are you going to take this?
So Serena Williams announced or revealed that she's taking GLP-1s,
Mhm.
has had some great success, lost a bunch of weight. Great. Awesome. And some people were outraged. Why should she? She should never.
Yeah.
She should do it the right way. Lots of other people saying that objectively, one of the greatest athletes of our generation
Yeah.
was still struggling and having such a hard time. This let her succeed and gave her the tools she needed to do what she needed to do.
Yeah.
I come down on that side, but she also revealed this as she's in partnership with kind of a sketchy online pharmacy that I get marketed a lot of very sketchy stuff from this pharmacy, offering to do all kinds of things to my manhood. And I'm very comfortable taking the position that GLP-1s are a very effective tool. Seems like Serena Williams is actually a great example of, no, it takes more than willpower and grit. This is the perfect tool for a lot of people. And, I wish Serena Williams wasn't endorsing a sketchball online pharmacy. That's a bummer.
Yeah.
I think those can live side by side, and I'm comfortable with that.
I think that's fair. If it's like a PR stunt, even if it's the truth and authentic, that feels kind of gross.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a stunt because it's real. It's real. It's happening. She used it. It was I forget what the number is, but a very significant amount of weight that she lost. So I think she's been doing it for quite a while. I imagine she'll keep doing it for quite a while or / forever, depending on how the journey goes. Like, I'm willing and happy to loudly support all of that. And do we really have to do it as like partnership with this like kind of gray market weirdo site?
Yeah, I get that. The space in between.
Yeah.
I've had a number of clients come to me almost like ashamed to say, I've decided to start a GLP. And it's been a while since that conversation has gone that way, because it caused me to look inward of, what am I doing, whether implicitly or explicitly, to make this person believe that this is something that I would even be remotely like disappointed or chastisey about. And I can see really clearly why somebody might demonize a GLP and look at it as taking the easy way out. Or even if we look at it, there's another podcast out there called Maintenance Phase, which I like tremendously. It's Michael Hobbs and Aubrey Gordon. They're not super active anymore, but they've got just a wealth of old information. Essentially, every week they would debunk a fitness or wellness topic.
Okay.
So if you're somebody listening to this and you like our podcast, you might like theirs, and it's a little higher produced and maybe a little better research. We think we're pretty cool, but you might like theirs as well. And they did an episode on GLPs a couple of years ago, like before there was really a lot of information out there about them. I think at that point it was really only Ozempic. We didn't have any of the dual agonists or compounding yet at that point. And we also didn't have microdosing. And so they deep dived into what is Ozempic, what does it do, what happens in your body. And at that point, people were still on really, really high doses. And as a result of that, there were a lot of really nasty side effects. And so that was kind of the first exposure that I had to a GLP. It was also presented from two people who are not fitness professionals, and in fact, by trade, are like pro body positivity and like trying to debunk problematic things. And they
Right.
were talking about all the negative side effects that were happening as a result of taking Ozempic at a really high dosage.
Mm-hmm.
What we've seen things shift to now is that more and more people are microdosing, meaning a smaller dose that has a lower side effect and in many cases the same amount of positive. And so when we layer this into somebody who is insulin resistant, who has complex conditions, who has PCOS, who has been obese their entire life, who is just quite literally not able to make progress despite doing all of the things and checking all of the boxes that they're told to check. And still, things are not moving in the right direction. And then to have people on the kind of conventionally thin, attractive, fits the norm of what you'd expect from a fit person shouting at them about how dare you take the easy way out. And then
Yeah.
on the other side of the spectrum, somebody loudly on the side of body positivity and health can be at any size and yada yada, also yelling at them, how dare you shrink your body and take this thing that has all this negative side effects. I see where we got into this place of like, okay, well then if this person is doing all of the things and things are not moving in a positive direction, and maybe it's not even related to weight. Maybe it's related to brain fog. Maybe it's related to our ability to build muscle. Maybe it's related to cholesterol, right? All things that some of the GLPs have been shown to have actual positive movement in.
Yep.
I'm getting shouted at from either side of the spectrum.
And so often the shouting comes from a single perspective. So much of the shouting is on the internet. And as we've discussed, the internet, well, social media, and social media thrives on outrage. That is how they pay their bills. That is what generates clicks. So if you say something that has a bunch of nuance, saying, GLP-1s are a really useful tool, but not for everyone. And I think they get overprescribed in some ways. And a lot of the people talking about microdosing are actually selling you some garbage. And this gray market peptide thing is a whole different problem. And versus, oh yeah, lots of people have tried lots of things. And this is actually so close to magic that it boggles the mind for the right person, that it's what we've been looking for. Like the fitness industry has been talking about, oh, well, if you could take an exercise pill, you'd make $1 billion. And this isn't an exercise pill, but it is a really remarkable kind of satiety, appetite, habit changing pill, injectable at point of time of recording. But that kind of nuance doesn't get any traction.
Yeah, that's not sexy at all.
Yeah. But I can understand. I've had similar conversations with a bunch of people like you described. If clients get the impression that the fitness industry is against it, then it's understandable how they might lump you into that, at least at first. And now we're in the position of, because I wrestle with this all the time, of how much time do I need to spend specifically talking about, hey,
everything.
I support this and I don't support this. And of course I do this and I don't do this. And if you would never work with someone who believes these things, you shouldn't work with me. And if you really want to work with someone who believes these things, you might not think that about me. Like I don't have a good example. I work with lots of trans people.
I have an example.
I work and have worked with and do work and will work with lots of trans people. I don't consider it a specialty, but I have a pretty decent amount of experience with it at this point. And it's different, especially people who are on hormones or any kind of still along the journey. And the programming is different and the goals are different and the language used is different. And sometimes the language has to be very specific. I think on first glance, I don't look like a guy who works with a bunch of trans people. And I get that. But it's not, I wouldn't call it my niche. And honestly, I feel a little weird and almost I worry about being kind of appropriative, if that makes sense.
Right. Like it would kind of feel pandering to be like
Yeah,
the
that's a better
the
word for it.
trainer of trans
Yeah, the
folks.
same like I'm such an ally. Look, like no, I don't. I'm just like a decent fucking human being. And by the way, I've been
Right.
doing this for a minute, so I've had experience with all these people who I can give you a list who are going
Right.
through various transitions,
Yeah.
and so I have some experience with this. In the same way, I've done a lot of knee pain. I've worked with a lot of trans people, and I'll of course call you whatever you want to be called, and this doesn't affect me in the
Yeah.
least. So I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about it because I don't want to be pandery. And I want people who that is specifically their niche to thrive there and not feel like I'm, nudging them out of the way.
Right.
But sometimes I also feel like I need to say, hey, by the way, everyone is welcome as long as you're a decent human being. And if you're not a decent human being, you're not going to fit in here and we won't work together.
I don't care if you pee standing up or sitting down. Just please don't leave any on the seat.
Yeah, exactly. But that's not everyone's position.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Certainly not.
You had an example before I got excited.
I did, and maybe it's gone. That's okay. If it comes back, we'll side quest.
Excellent.
I would love to talk about women's fashion.
Okay. I'm already slightly out of my depth, but I'll see what I can do.
Wonderful. So I am at a place now where I am really happy with where my body is and also deciding it might change and that doesn't matter as much. Right. And so for a while, it's been on my list to get some new gear, particularly bottoms and sports bras for a minute. And that has kind of been tucked back as like, well, I'd like to wait until Sustained opens so that I know that the ground is really clean so I don't ruin all of the stuff. And I'd like to make sure that my body is in a place where I'm happy to invest in quality pieces, yada, yada.
Yep.
And then just decided, okay, well, this is bullshit. Like, I need some stuff that fits and makes me feel really good now that isn't 8 years old and totally pilled and like, doesn't like works enough.
I was
Right?
just going to say, like, the stuff you have now, it sounds like, is actually becoming sort of sub-functional and having some negative effects.
Right.
So maybe we don't need a full new wardrobe, but we need some stuff.
We need some stuff. And something that I was delighted at in this round of shopping that was not the case the last time that I bought new gear was that larger stuff was not more expensive.
Oh, fascinating.
So to give a lot more information about boobs than anybody asked for.
This I feel like I can talk about, but you go ahead.
Yeah, wonderful. I am a average band size, which is like the circumference of the bottom, right? And a larger cup size. And so something that is made as like a really cute, strappy, like something is going to be totally inappropriate for me. It's going to feel bad. It's going to be a real scene, like not going to work. Right. So in the past, when I was shopping for stuff, a long line thing is generally not going to work because then the cup is going to be like, oh, great, that's just an entire nipple. Right. For the band to be where it needs to be. Or if it fits the band size, it's way too small up top. Or if it has enough cup to it, it is likely huge in the band. And so it's like, oh, wow, I'm so glad I have this circus tent. This is just wonderful, remarkable. And so what I encountered the last time I shopped, which granted was before Jack was born, after Walter was born, right? So we're talking 5 years ago, right? Things that were made for people of average band size and large cup size were significantly more expensive.
That's so interesting. Is it just because it's niche? Is it a different line? Because I'm thinking there is nothing in men's fashion that works this way. And I have had similar fit all of my pants have this fit problem where if it fits around my ass, then there's a giant gap at the waist because dude's been squatting for a while.
Right.
And it's just like I can fit my fist between my hip and my pants. But that's the only way that it fits around my thighs and my butt. But this design of jeans costs what it costs, regardless of size.
Right. No, in women's fashion, that is That was not the case
Hmm.
in this point. And so the example that I use was at Lululemon when I shopped then. You know, their kind of standard low to medium support bra is somewhere between $40 and $55.
Okay.
The higher support that is fundamentally almost the exact same amount of fabric, but it's just distributed a little differently,
Mhm.
was almost $80 at that point.
Wow. That's a big difference.
It's a big difference because then at that point, if I have $100 to spend, if I am a smaller cup size, I can buy two. This time around, that was not true. I got almost the exact same bra in the size that I am now for $58. And I
That's
was
interesting.
like delighted. And
Yeah,
so
it's wonderful
whatever
that
they
they made the
did,
change. I'm
yeah,
just like, companies don't lower prices. That's not a thing.
right,
Yeah.
right. I was surprised because
Yeah.
I was totally prepared to pay $80 for this
Yeah.
bra, but delighted and also wish that more brands would do that, not just price things laterally, but also don't assume that fit people are size A to C.
Yeah. 100%.
Like I have some stuff from, let's say, Aerie, Old Navy, Target, etc., stuff that was a lower price point that technically works, right?
Sure.
But if I'm going to be doing a high impact something, it's going to be not the thing that I reach for. And if I were to buy all bras that actually fit and were supportive, it would cost a small fortune.
Yeah.
Or places like I really, really like Vori. Vori has arguably my favorite bottoms to wear, and their tops are almost never appropriate because they're built for these like teeny tiny wafy up top individuals.
Yep. And there's a whole other like rabbit hole you can fall into there. This is an old story with fashion, but the people they want to be seen wearing their stuff, they have an idea of what those people look like, and they think it's these measurements. And you can show them someone who they would say, "Oh, well, of course we would love that person to wear our stuff." You can say nothing you make fits them.
Yeah.
Because look at these proportions, or look at how tall they are, or look at, A, B, and
They
C.
will look ridiculous in anything that you offer.
Yeah, this incredibly fit person who has been squatting for 20 years, your bottoms do not fit them.
Right. Yeah. So I hope that it becomes more common, particularly as it pertains to athleisure brands, that there is some consideration made to like, hey, not everybody is a full B.
Yeah,
We've got
especially in a
some-
company of that size, right? Like,
Right.
if you're a brand new custom thing and you're selling two pieces, we're not talking to you. But
Right.
the international conglomerates who are inevitably owned by four other people and want to, they want to grow year after year. They want to serve everyone. They want to, they at least give lip service of wanting to have all kinds of people in their stuff. You need to actually make that feasible, or stop talking about it and or be explicit. No,
Right.
we are declaring that these are the only kinds of people we're going to have, and a certain audience will absolutely support you.
Of course. Just communicate honestly.
Wouldn't that be nice?
We talk about that a lot.
Yeah, it seems to come up. It's like a thing. It's really important.
That's like the undertone theme of this entire podcast.
Yeah. Yep. Like, good communication will solve almost anything.
Almost anything. That's the truth. I had a really interesting thing happen at the gym this week, and I'd love to share it with you.
Please.
So I have crossed the threshold at the class that I've been attending. It's 2 mornings a week, Tuesday, Thursday, 6 a.m. It's exclusively a strength training class. We don't do cardio. We don't do metcons. We lift really, really heavy weights. We're doing like find failure and do it again type stuff.
Fun.
Which is, it's fun.
Yeah, it's a good time.
It is a really good time. And I have crossed the threshold because most of the people who attend this class already were members at this gym. And so they knew each other, and then enter me, new person. And I knew the trainers, but I did not know any of the attendees.
Okay.
I have crossed the acceptance threshold.
Meaning what?
Meaning we know each other's names, and they if I miss a day, they call it out, right?
Okay.
Like, and one person in particular has asked me a couple weeks in a row to share a bar. So like, wow, I've been accepted. This is cool. And in the least kind of toot my own horn kind of way possible, am maybe the strongest person in class. Maybe
Sure.
not at everything, but like consistently a top performer.
You're up there. Yeah.
Right. And the person that I've been sharing with asked me this week, "Hey, what's your routine?" And I wanted some clarity on that. Right. What do you
Okay.
mean by that? Because I want to make sure I'm understanding the question. And just out of curiosity, why are you asking? Like, why is it important to you? And up until very recently, none of them knew that I was in fitness as well, because I just kind of wanted a place to go and be
I
anonymous and do my
totally get
workout and
that.
leave. She said, "Well, you're really strong. And so I'm just curious what you do for that to be true." And I had the absolute pleasure of telling her that, hey, this Tuesday, Thursday, 6 a.m. class is 90% of my strength training.
Mm-hmm.
Ted and I do what we call vegetables on Saturday mornings, and then we typically do some type of aerobic component. Lately for me, it's been running, which has been a really fun and interesting challenge, because up until very recently, I said that if I'm running, you should run too. Um, and we play pickleball 2, sometimes 3 times a week for
Right.
like somewhere between 30 and 60 minutes, depending on what time we roll in. And she was shocked by that. Like, so you're not doing any other classes? No. Like, are you training at home? No. This is it. And you're that good. Yeah.
Mhm.
This is it. And so it was at that point that then I was like, okay, I'm gonna give the cards away. Share, hey, I work in fitness full time. I make the most of this hour, and I truly push right up until failure. And it is much easier to build a program that affects results if you're training 4 and 5 days a week. You can be sloppier.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas if you're training 2 times a week, it needs to be dialed as fuck. Alec Blennis talks about this a lot, and I love that he does, where, hey, I can get an absolutely brutal thing in that's only 2 or 3 movements.
Yeah.
Whereas another coach might throw 12 at me. And the simpler a program is, the less places where you can hide on things.
Completely.
And so I go into the hour expecting, like, okay, I'm truly going to go as hard as I can within the realm of what's possible here, because this is it. Right? Like, I'm not going to sandbag through this and go at an RP 5 or 6. I am going to be like grunting at the end, reaching, there is not another way that I could get a rep.
I do
It's
the same
brutal. It's
thing with a
brutal.
lot of my training, especially anything like strength or hypertrophy related. I strongly value efficiency and efficacy, and that approach, that's how you squeeze the most juice. That's how you get that's how you get the most out of it. So I will destroy myself on a few very select things, and then there's this giant asterisk, but learning how to do that and learning what it feels like, and even having the neurological wiring, never mind the physiological ability to do that. Yeah, that was what the first 50,000 reps were for.
Right.
Like, my real answer whenever, and it, on occasion it happens, I'm working out in a college gym, and some like 19-year-old dude will be like, hey, how do you get, like, you're like throwing 225 around. How do you get, like, I usually say, I will walk you through amazing bench technique if you want to. I'm not going to I'll get yelled at if I coach people, but I can tell you what I'm doing and my approach to it. The real answer is, I started doing this 20 years ago.
Right.
The real answer is, well, it used to be, I used to do the exact same thing with 75 pounds, and now I do it here. And that's kind of a slow process.
Right.
Like, getting to the place where you can do that takes a lot of work and partly experience. Like, I'm okay with a lot of people doing 5 days a week especially if they're newer, as long as we're paying attention to
That's right.
load versus capacity and overall volume and how things feel and making sure recovery is king and all of that stuff. Because to some degree, like, yeah, we need to get your first 10,000 out of the way. Like, we just need to do
we need some reps.
Your first 200 squats are going to be fucking bullshit. So let's go. Because
let's
we
get them
have
out
work
of the way.
to do. Yeah. Also not always a popular opinion amongst fitness people. Like, yeah, it's fine. Just go.
How can I have perfect technique? You can a year from now.
Yeah. It's not going to be like good enough is good enough for all kinds of things, because we're building a monument here, not carving a little tiny, I don't know, pencil sculpture.
Right. But I thought that conversation was so interesting because she was fully expecting something else.
I bet something really complicated. I bet you're like, oh, well, I do 3 hours a day, 4 days a week, and then I come here as a supplement. And you were like, no, this is enough.
This is it, actually.
And it's working.
And it's working beautifully.
Yeah. I think a lot for at least a year. I've been thinking a lot about this idea of intensity and how to teach people and communicate about finding intensity and what it feels like and how to do it safely and in a way that isn't just like beating people up or screaming at people. And especially doing it remotely is really, it's fun. But it's interesting of like, no, you can do another one. In person, it's a lot easier, especially if you've built a lot of trust. I have a client who may well listen to this, who we reached a point, we got several thousand reps out of the way. And then I had a frank conversation of, so we need to go harder. Like the goals that you've stated now, which changed. It's like, we need to go harder because the things you want require this kind of input. And that's not what we're doing. And they would say, well, I'm going really hard. Like I go as hard as I can. I say, you're telling me the truth. I know you're telling me the truth. And you're just wrong. You don't understand. I'm about to push the door open and be like, look, there's a whole nother room in this museum. And you're like, oh no, that room is scary.
Oh, no.
Like, yeah, there's terrible stuff, but it's weird. And it might be like, actively spotting the last couple of reps. And they say, I can't, I have to stop. Using a ton of coaching experience and very particular inputs to say, yeah, you can. And then knowing when the right time to say, yep, you're right, let's stop. Yeah. Or playing with partial reps and partial contractions, or playing with like all of these ideas around intensity and failure are super fun. And not everyone needs to go to failure, and not everyone needs to train at intensity, frankly, depending on what your goals are. But for the people who need it, it's such an interesting conversation to have for people who it doesn't necessarily come naturally to, especially. Like folks who have a lower training age and or never played sports and or like that idea isn't immediately appealing to them. Finding the way in that is safe and effective and back to it, like you can communicate in a way that makes sense and aligns with their goals and aligns with the person they are, is tons of fun.
I also want to be really clear. This is not either of us saying this is the way to train. Like this is the best way to squeeze the juice. Certainly not. I'm saying for me specifically in this season, I don't have the time to strength train 4 or 5 days a week, which is what I'd really prefer to do, right? I would rather train at a little less intensity, a little more frequently, because I enjoy training. I think it's fun. I like it. I enjoy carving out the time. And right now, that's not realistic for my life. And so to achieve the goals that I'd like to achieve, to continue getting stronger and more resilient and harder to kill and more prepared for whatever life might throw at me, I need to squeeze every milliliter out of the hour. And part of the reason that I decided to do a class in the first place is because I don't want to go that hard alone. It sucks. It's brutal.
That's a great point. Like one of the benefits of the group environment can be
someone's watching.
Someone's watching. And if that kind of like competition, accountability, groupthink works for you, it really works for you. I've absolutely, when I worked at a group gym, when I would show up in class, the people who knew, the people who've been around a while, like, oh, what'd you come to do? I have something awful I'm supposed to do today, and the workout is a lot like that thing, and I will do a better job and actually hit the stimulus I need to if you guys are around also. So
Right.
here we are. I'm
Right. Here
scared.
we are. Right. Yeah. And I know, at least in the class that I've been attending, people have started to kind of joke. Like the one person said, "Oh, what's she doing? Great, I'm gonna do 20 pounds less than that." It's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, like that feels really good, right?
Yeah,
Like
that's fun.
I'm being noticed, and then that also is gonna keep me on my toes for like, all right, well, I can't sandbag next week because somebody's gonna be like, this bitch has more in the tank. And we know that.
Well, and it's like being that benchmark is also, I think there's a responsibility that comes along with that, which people
Right.
don't necessarily have to accept. But we've talked about this before with like being an experienced fitness person, trainer, lifter, whatever,
Yeah.
and even just like a whatever Globo gym, the way you do things, someone's watching. There's a relatively new person or someone who thinks they want what you have and what you do. Just like this person asked about your routine, someone across the gym might be, well, I want to look like that person or be as strong as that person or be able to do the skills like that person or move like that person or whatever.
Right.
And that person, like between sets, they rearranged the plates on that squat rack so they're actually in the right order and nice and neat,
Right.
even though they weren't that way when they showed up before they walked away, which is, I do that constantly. Like I walk up to a rack and between sets, I will rearrange a couple of things and rearrange
Right.
a couple of things. And it'll be somewhere between pretty good and perfect before I walk away. And I'm not doing it to show off. It is absolutely my instinct, but
Mhm.
it's also like we're making the world a slightly better place.
Right. You have the opportunity, and I would even go so far as to say the obligation to, if you know better, you should influence the culture of the room.
It's a privilege to be able to do this kind of stuff and to be able to perform in some kind of way.
Mhm.
And I think that privilege comes with some responsibility. I was thinking about, we might leave this in or might not, about doing an episode about that idea of like kind of fitness privilege or strong person privilege, or from my perspective, like big guy privilege in the world.
Mhm.
Like, and what that means and what it comes with. Cause I think about
Oh,
this
I would love that episode. I
constantly.
think about that a lot, and we
Right.
talk about it a lot in the context of raising white men
Yep.
and like raising kind, empathetic, curious, questioning, noticing, accommodating young men and not a bunch more rebels, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we'll bank this. We won't go into a whole deep discussion here because I think that's going to be interesting. But it
Yeah, I
I
think that's
mentioned it
needed.
now 'cause something on social media. I saw a woman asking the question of, "Hey, dude, like guys, when you walk down the street, are you deliberately thinking about how a woman is going to notice you and how you
Mm,
will feel around?" And my first response is like, "Oh, constantly. I am like monitoring and moving myself to the other side of the sidewalk and thinking about, oh, they're moving at this pace and I'm moving at this pace. I'm going to make sure that I'm actually going to go around this tree into traffic a little bit so we don't
they
feel
don't think
crowded
that
or scared
right.
or any of that stuff." For those on the audio feed, like I'm gigantic and like incredibly jacked and just really a presence. But for those of you on the video feed, I'm just some guy. But I can also understand someone being scared or intimidated or in some situation being worried. And that came through a lifetime of noticing and experiences. And it was just,
Right.
I'm going to tell the story and either we'll cut, I'll probably tell on the, when we do this too, but I think it's useful. When I was in college, there was speaking of light and airy topics, there was a serial rapist. It was scary. It was a big problem. Random people were being like grabbed and dragged into the bushes. I
Mm,
went to state school, UMass Amherst, gigantic campus, 30,000 people attended at any given time. And for several weeks, the school was terrified. I
mm,
regularly was walking females to class, to home, to like being an escort, going from one place to another. Now, I also worked and studied very late nights, and there was some
mhm.
night where I finished up, I think, at the library as walking back to my dorm, not thinking about it. I was maybe listening to music, coming along, and I'm 19 years old. I'm wearing my incredibly cool leather jacket because I'm super cool. I probably had a bandana tied somewhere. My watch was on upside down. Incredibly cool. And I'm just walking along, and suddenly I realize there's a woman 100 feet ahead of me looking over her shoulder and speeding up and starting to run. And I walk kind of fast.
Yeah.
And she was not on my radar at all.
But you were on hers.
Completely. And I was in my own world and suddenly realized that this person was worried enough to really change their behavior because of the silhouette I presented.
Right.
And I stopped. I put my hands up and said, "I'm so sorry. I'm going to stay here for a minute." Again, why would you believe me? This could be a trap, whatever. And I just kind of cooled my heels for a few minutes and let a song play and then went on my way. But that was a formative event. And I strongly remember that moment because of the effect I was having. And I've been kind of like me my whole life. Like I was this fluffy theater guy who was just super nice and incredibly sweet and tried to be nice to everybody. But in that moment, I was a terrifying threat. And again, she was right. I get it. Like, yeah, that was probably the right move. And I think about that as a responsibility on a pretty regular basis.
I'm really glad that you did that. And I think that that's also not common.
You mean like stopping and noticing it? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's probably some people, and I invite you in the comments, who are going to tell me how woke I am or ridiculous or
soy boy.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to think about this stuff. Like, I'm allowed to exist. Why should I have to apologize for my existence? You don't. None of that is true. And noticing who you are and that you have an effect on the world around you is really useful and will make everything better.
Yeah.
And will also make your life better and easier.
Gosh. And Ted will mention this as well, that, when we met, he did not have a lot of those skills. He was not keen on noticing because he just had honestly never considered it. And he has shifted from pretty conservative when we met to as liberal as I am now.
Yeah.
And if people ask him, hey, how did this come to be? His answer is, well, I was just open to hearing the perspectives of people who are different from me and open to believing them.
And like back to curiosity and communication.
Right. Like I remember there being at one point, like very, very early in our relationship, we're both like 19 years old, right?
Adorable.
Like adorable. Oh, you don't like running at night? No, I might get murdered. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
Then that you might not like that.
Yeah. Oh, I get it. Uh-huh. Yep.
Oh, you don't wear your headphones when you're walking around on campus. Why is that? Because I won't be able to hear if somebody's coming up behind me. Oh, and why might that be scary? Oh, because I was assaulted. Like, legitimately, this happened to me. So I'm going to have my antennas up, right? And it was so refreshing to not be met with, yeah, but I'm not like that. Or like, we don't have anybody like that here. And to just be met with, I'd never thought of it that way, but now I'm going to.
Yeah. Now that's part of my experience. It doesn't make anything else untrue necessarily. It doesn't mean I need to do anything necessarily, but I'm now aware of other people's lives and existence and how that affects things. Okay. I'm going to let that color how I live, breathe, interact, where I purchase, etc. That same thing, like we are wandering so far fucking afield, but the idea that having compassion is so frequently misaligned with what gets put forth as conservative ideals blows the back of my head off. As someone who was like raised Catholic, I went to a Jesuit high school and took theology for years and had a Bible as a textbook I had to buy for school. I had to buy the Bible so I could take notes and underline it and go through all of that stuff. Like, I read that whole book. And compassion, especially the second half, compassion comes up like all the time. Like, there was this dude who was like, that was kind of his thing. That was like his whole thing. And the idea that you can say, and I knew what you were talking about, but like he's aware of these things now. He's much more open to other people's experiences, but he used to be very conservative, is a bummer to me, because I'm also down with, I don't agree with lots of people who present as conservative, like a lot of their ideas, a lot of their political stuff. Like, we're not on the same track, but I can kind of get where they come from sometimes.
Sure.
Oh, I could understand why you would want zoning to be this way. I could understand why you would want, I understand the idea of wanting more homeschooling and support for that. I understand, like, there's lots of stuff that I can wrap my head around and say I disagree, and I'm going to present some arguments, but you should also be allowed to do that, and I kind of get it. The idea that some human beings should be lesser than other human beings, and we should not make any attempt to understand them, or let that understanding, if we have it, affect how we behave in the world, because this is my favorite thing to do and I only want to do it this way, is, I think, should be taken as a grave insult to people who take those other positions. And the fact that so much of it comes as like, well, I'm on this team, so I guess I believe all of these things, and not,
Right.
oh, well, actually, I believe in a bunch of these things that may well make Justin furious, but actually, I don't believe in some of these things.
Yeah, that calls to mind like a cartoon image representing DEI that I'm confident you've probably seen an iteration of it, where it's 3 people at a fence, right? And people who are significantly more fortunate, which often is affluent white men, being just at the fence and like able to look over. Right. And then the idea that, maybe there's a woman, maybe there's a person of color, and the woman is kind of right here at the fence, like can maybe get up on her tiptoes and like
see over,
kind of see what's going on. And then a less privileged person next to them, like no hope of seeing over the fence, even if they were to jump.
Yeah, standing in a
And-
ditch.
Right. There's this common kind of assumption that DEI requires lowering the white man.
Yeah.
When in fact that's not true. We just want to create a step stool so that everybody can see over the fence.
Shouldn't, like, a reasonably level playing field.
Right.
I am down for a meritocracy. If we're going to do a meritocracy, it has to be a level playing field, or it's not a meritocracy.
Or it's not.
If you have an incredibly expensive golf club and have worked with a coach for the past 10 years and, have your biomarkers dialed in for this, and I've never been allowed to hold a golf club before, this isn't a fair game. There's no one would say this is reasonable, right?
Right.
But someone's going to get accused of playing favorites by giving me some advantages, buying me a golf club, subsidizing some coaching just to bring me up to, forgive the pun, par.
Oh, that's terrible.
You're very welcome.
Justin.
I saw that coming about 30 seconds ahead of time. I was like, oh, this is going to be good.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do
This
it.
is
I'm
it.
gonna do it.
I'm leaning into the dadness.
That's terrible. That's terrible.
You're very welcome.
I don't have anything else to say.
That's it. Just leave it on the pun.
That's it. That's it.
I'm okay with it.
I think this was fun. I think this might get us canceled, and I don't care.
Entirely possible. It's going to like get blurred or get pulled or get bleeped, or it'll be impossible to share or something like that.
Just the only outcome I don't want to happen is that I don't want to be disappeared by somebody from the federal government who thinks that we are in any way a threat. So I would like to be very clear, federal government, if you're listening, we are not a threat.
Not a threat. We are not promoting violence in any of its forms.
Nope.
Ever. For any reason.
For any reason against any person, regardless of how we may or may not feel about them.
No. And this disclaimer may also be incredibly ineffective in us getting disappeared.
Non-binding in a court of law.
Yeah. So, listeners, we're planning on a whole bunch of episodes. So if they just stop, you should check on us.
Right. If we fall into the crypt, something has happened.
Yeah, reach out. Ask a question.
Ask a question.
I like talking to people.
I show my face enough on stories that people should know if I'm okay.
Yeah, that's fair.
Wonderful. Team This has been our second Shoot the Shit episode. If you love this format and would like to keep seeing it, please let us know. If you hate it and would like us to stick to a script, please let us know. We may or may not do anything different based on your feedback, but we'd like to know regardless.
Yeah, we're going to have these conversations one way or the other. Whether or not we record and edit it is a whole other set of circumstances. If you would like us to shut up and dribble, I'll listen.
Right. We'll entertain it. We'll hear you out. Bring us your grievances.
Yes, please lay them down on our doorstep.
This has been Training Partners. I'm Weezy Shoemaker. That's Justin McClintock. We will see you next time.
Later, team.
Here come your training partners, so smart, so strong, so funny. Let's go with your training partners. We're ready to shine together.